Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my reviews. Today we are test driving the Mini Cooper 2020. This is the 3-door hardtop version, and it was refreshed in 2018, but the refresh didn't bring a lot of visual changes to the table because Mini didn't want to change a recipe that worked. So this is the third generation Mini launched since the company was taken over by BMW in 1999. The first one came out just as we were entering the third millennia, and it brought along a new interpretation to the original design of Sir Alec Issigonis. Now, he had designed the first Mini back in the 1950s, and the original Mini was meant to be an economical small city car that would be used by people living in big cities, and would cost very little to maintain and would be very practical for its size without costing an arm and a leg. Now, I explained all that in my original Mini 1959 review, which can be found on my channel. Ever since BMW took over, Mini became a premium brand because that's how BMW wanted to market it, and it grew in size because it had to. I mean, safety regulations imposed a certain amount of safety features installed on this car, safety features that demand some space all on their own, and customer demanded more room inside, so of course the Mini grew in size. For the 2018 facelift, the changes were actually very small, as I already mentioned. They included a small tweak on the headlights. Now that they now have daytime running lights made up of LEDs around the entire headlight, as opposed to the pre-facelift model, which had the orange turn signal at the bottom of the headlight. So the circle wasn't complete. Now, whenever you signal a lane change, the entire ring around the headlight turns orange. So that's the biggest change up front. You can also notice that a Mini is a facelift model by the badge, because the badge was revamped in 2019. So it's a lot simpler and more minimalistic right now, and it looks great in my book. So that's another hint that this is a facelift model. The fog lights were also a bit changed, but not so drastic that people might actually notice whenever they look at the car. That said, the biggest changes will be noticed at the back. That's where the taillights are now sporting the Union flag, the Union Jack flag motif, and they actually look really good. Also at the back, you might notice that the Mini also comes with a tailpipe at the back, which is something you don't really see in the industry right now. That's something that really pisses me off about the industry today, is the fact that they are starting to use a lot of fake exhaust tips, but that's a rant I won't get into right now. If you step inside the car, you will notice the design is basically unchanged to the previous generation car. What you do get is a bit more equipment, a newer technology, but that's about it. So the interior design of the third generation Mini also pays tribute to the original. The original had a big speedometer right in the middle of the dash, and that theme is kept here. And if the first two generations of the Mini cars developed under BMW's guidance had a speedometer right here in the middle, for the new generation they decided to drop the speedometer and replace it with an infotainment screen. Now, on base models, before the facelift came out, you could get like a radio over here with no display whatsoever. On the facelifted models, the base trim models come with a 6.5-inch display, while the higher trim versions come with an 8.8-inch display. The display looks really good. It has a screensaver mode that pops up a analog clock over here, and the entire thing has an LED ring around it that has multiple functions. First of all, it works as part of the interior ambient lights package. It can change color. It has about 16 colors you can choose from, and the color of this LED strip matches the ones on the doors. It can also indicate how far you are from an obstacle when you're parking the car. The car sensors will tell you, but this LED ring will also turn red if you get too close to an object. It will change color whenever you're adjusting the temperature. If you're going hot or cold, it turns blue or red. It can do a lot of stuff. Even when you turn the volume up, the ring will go up accordingly. So it's really nice. It gives the Mini a special touch. It's something you don't see in any other car. It's a Mini thing. The instrument cluster was moved right in front of the driver on the steering column, and you have a speedometer, a tachometer, and the fuel gauge right in front of you. All the information is here. If you want to, you can also buy a head-up display for the Mini, which is an option you don't really see on the really small cars. But then again, the Mini is a premium small car, so it costs more, but it has better materials, more technology, and so on. So you do get what you pay for. Other than that, you don't get a lot of room inside. As I said, this is a small car. So up front, you do get space for like any kind of human being, except if you're, I don't know, basketball player. But normal humans will fit in here, no problems whatsoever up front. In the back, you do have to be a bit smaller in size. You can fit children in there. That's not going to be an issue, but not adults and not comfortably. But this is, I repeat, a really small car, so you can't expect that. Storage spaces are limited as well. The door bins can basically accommodate like a wallet, and that's about it. You do have two cup holders up front. You do have charging ports, you know, Type A and Type C charging ports over here, but that's about it. What I do like about the interior design of the Mini is the cockpit style buttons, which look absolutely great, and the start button that has a red LED ring around it that pulsates whenever you're in the car to tell you that it's there, first of all, and that it gives off the impression that the car is alive. It's a really nice touch. Now let's talk about the technical side of things. Well, the Mini Cooper comes with a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. It develops 136 horsepower, and it's quite nicely balanced. As you might be aware, the 3-cylinder engines, that architecture is very unbalanced, because every time one piston is up, two are down, and vice versa. So it's the most unbalanced setup you can get on an internal combustion engine. And yet BMW worked extra hard to make sure it can be balanced. What they did was create a counterbalance for a piston, so that the engine doesn't have extreme levels of NVH, noise, vibration, harshness. And it actually works. I think this is the most balanced and the best 3-cylinder engine I've ever driven, and that includes PSA's 1.2 liter engine, the 0.9 liter 3-cylinder engine from Renault, the 3-cylinder EcoBoost from Ford, and so on. So it's a really well balanced engine, and it has plenty of torque from down low, which helps in making it feel more robust. What I also want to mention is the fact that this car is a manual. And it's been a while since I've last driven a manual. That was last year in October or September, I think, and it was the Honda Civic Type R. Since then, I have not driven a manual, and I did have to get accustomed to it. What didn't help in that regard was the clutch pedal, which doesn't really have a lot of feedback. You don't really feel when the clutch hooks. So, you know, it's a bit of, it does take a bit of getting used to it. At least the pedal is light, so it won't hurt your back. As for the gearbox, you know, the gaiters are a bit too far apart from, if you ask me, and the shifts are a bit long, but they're okay. The first 3 gears are pretty long, which does help out around the city. it makes the car easy to live with in heavy traffic because you don't have to change gear very often. But of course, that will imply that you will rev the engine a bit higher. And since I lost my touch with manual gearboxes, I think I did rev the engine a bit more than I should have normally. Now, you do get a gear shift indicator in the instrument cluster that does tell you to shift under 2000 RPM. But I think that's really not healthy for the engine, and it does make the 3-cylinder under the hood vibrate a bit more because it's basically you're basically lugging the car. But this car does feel lively when you push it. I mean, it really lives between 2000 and 4000 RPM, 4500 RPM. It really comes alive, and you can really have fun with it, especially since it's a manual. The front axle has a lot of grip, which was of course welcome, and it felt really well planted. I didn't really feel a lot of torque steer, but then I didn't really push the car a lot as well, and you can feel it's a lot heavier up front than in the back, because whenever you take a turn really fast, you enter with you carry more speed through a corner than you should. You can feel the rear axle kind of, you know, losing grip and following your front end. It creates a pendulum effect, so you can feel that. But it's a really well set up car, and the fact that it's a manual really made my weekend a lot better with this car, because I loved every minute of changing the gears myself. There's still no replacement for an old school manual gearbox. No matter how good automatic gearboxes are, and they are really good these days, there's still no replacement for a good old-fashioned manual gearbox. As for the fuel consumption, around town I saw an average of 8.59 liters per 100 kilometers covered, but as I mentioned, I did rev the engine a lot more than I should have. So the car is really well set up, even for spirited driving. Now, the 136 horsepower under the hood won't get you to eye-watering speeds in no time, but the car has plenty of punch to get you going in a hurry. And the fact that it has torque down low and the gears are very well designed so that you don't have to shift a lot around town, they do make this car very fun to drive, a very good proposition for those looking for a fun, small, compact car for city driving. What I should mention is the fact that that's what makes the Mini brand so loved by the fans of this British brand, because the Mini brand has a very interesting cult following, and there's a certain kind of customer that buys a Mini, because Minis are not cheap. They are expensive. They're a premium product, and to be honest, the interior does feel premium. The sound deadening is good. Even though we have frameless windows, there's some wind coming into the cabin. There's some wind noise coming into the cabin, but it's not as bad as it would be on a non-premium car. So the Mini is a premium car with a premium price tag, and in order to pay that price tag, you do have to love the brand. So you need to take that into consideration when thinking about buying a Mini or going into the Mini family. But once you do, I'm sure you won't be disappointed, because this is a fun car, a quirky car with a lot of tech inside. It feels really nice, and if you're a guy, listen to me when I say this, it will attract a lot of looks from the ladies. Most people think, you know, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, whatever will get the ladies' attention, but to be honest, I get a lot of looks from girls while I'm driving this car. The color helps out a lot. This is Starlight Blue with the white accents. It looks really cool, but any Mini I ever had draw a lot of attention from the ladies, the fairer sex. That said, what's my conclusion about the Mini Cooper? Well, it has a good manual gearbox. You can get an automatic, no problem. It's a 7-speed dual clutch. If you go for the Cooper S, it's an 8-speed automatic made by ASIN. It has plenty of power for everyday driving. It is a bit stiffer on the suspension side of things. I need to mention that. Mini cars usually are a bit stiff because they're meant to be, you know, to give you that sporty feeling. The seats, the optional sport seats in this car are very good. They look great if you ask me, and you should get them. They're not really that expensive, and it's a great overall package. The one rival the Mini has, the Mini 3-door has, is the Audi A1. That's the only rival this car has to beat. And if you're thinking that this Mini is expensive, it has a 34,000 euro price tag, you should know that the Audi rival is not cheaper either. These are premium cars, even though small, but premium. So keep that in mind. That said, this has been my review of the Mini Cooper. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. Until next time, don't forget to feed your passions and make sure to stay safe out there. Ciao.